So the first thing that we did was we went to Ramallah so that we don't have to be around Israelis because they were rampaging. They were like attacking Palestinians wherever they see them in the streets. And I was just like, oh, we want to see the baby. Like, can you answer me some questions?
In the colonial mentality is that you're not allowed to be angry.
I am just going to sit in meditation. The world is going to become better. This is not what Buddha did. Buddha sat there to meditate so he can alleviate the suffering of the people. Land acknowledgement. And I'm sitting on the seceded territory. How is this helping the native?
You were captured in this non-violent protest and you were tortured.
They want you to use non-violence so that you can remain occupied.
أنا من لبنان وأنت من Jerusalem.
Yeah.
هيدي ما يعني it never happens.
Never happens.
So give me your hands هيك.
That's the free Palestine.
Ashira, شكرا كتير. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It has been very hectic for you, touring the movie, you getting into accidents. And you made it.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me in this beautiful garden.
Yeah, well, because of COVID, we didn't want to do it inside, Fa. Thanks for flexibility. Yesterday was the 9 months into the genocide in Gaza. How are you doing as a Palestinian witnessing this from afar? Like, how are you doing? عن جد من قلبك يعني.
I don't think any of us are fine. Because we do have to, like, this is happening and there's this sense of weakness and this sense of inability to stop it. And with every bit and inch and cell in my body, I want it to stop, but I can't. So it makes us feel so
helpless.
Helpless and angry. I was watching the films from having those children who lost completely their whole bloodlines, watching everything that we're seeing is just beyond what a human heart and a human mind is able to even fathom and understand. Yeah. And we used to think that our situation is bad, but never would I have imagined something as horrific as this to take place. And watching the images of our prisoners coming out of Israeli detention, like our 10,000 hostages. We haven't seen torture to this extreme levels, yani. And you can't look at the prison cells except, yani, and even the shape of this Tayman, new jail that they have, the detention, but think of Guantanamo and think of concentration camps.
Yeah.
And the horror stories that we hear. And if you're talking about 10,000 people inside prison, this is 10,000 families that are having to live in this pain, excruciating pain, other than having over 86,000 people killed. And the numbers, everything is just beyond what we can imagine. And I don't know how much we're processing. Because for me, it was like I wanted to get out of Palestine so this film can come out, and I bottled everything up. And now I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit more ready to process. So I started the nightmares have arrived. My nervous system is now feeling safe enough to even allow me to feel what I've been trying to block. Because in the beginning of the aggression, it was just, I was pregnant and I was like, how do I even protect, I need to protect my fetus from what is happening just by trying to shelter myself.
You delivered your baby 4 months ago.
Yes.
During the genocide.
Yeah, he was born inside the genocide in Jerusalem.
How is witnessing the genocide from Jerusalem? How was it?
So the first thing that we did was we went to Ramallah so that we don't have to be around Israelis because they were rampaging. They were like attacking Palestinians wherever they see them in the streets. So
while you are actually being oppressed and your people are being killed, also mobs.
There's Israeli settlers, they're everywhere. It's not like in Gaza it's the bombs and it's direct. And in the West Bank we're still under occupation for 76 years. So it's not like they left us alone ever. But the situation was never as bad as it is. But it used to take us half an hour pre-Oslo. It started taking us an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours after Oslo, to sometimes 5 hours during the second Intifada. And then after the 7th of October, it's a case of maybe you make it and maybe you don't, and maybe you can get shot by a settler.
Driving on
the street. Checkpoints, and also the purified settler roads. So the Israelis can also attack you on these roads, and you have mobs. They've been burning houses and attacking Palestinians in their homes while they're sleeping. All of the areas we've had so many villages completely ethnically cleansed. They had to completely remove them, forcibly remove them, because they were under threat that they will kill them and nobody would come for you. So it was safer to be in Ramallah, safer to be in one place and not move. So I didn't go to doctor checkups. Also, the insurance in Jerusalem means that I have to go to Israeli doctors. And they were being horrific with us. At one point, me and my daughter, we went to the ultrasound, and she refused to speak to us.
Doctor?
Yeah, she refused to speak to us. And I was just like, we want to see the baby. Can you answer me some questions? And she was just silent. And Lyra was like, I want to see my baby brother. And I was like, "Hayo mama," but she's not listening.
Wow.
And she just didn't ask, and didn't answer. And I was like, are you just doing this because you're racist, or what is going on?
And she knew.
Like, I don't have to talk to you. Wow. And I'm like, wow, you don't have to talk to me, and you're my doctor.
And you have the Israeli passport.
There's no difference. But as long as you carry a little bit of brown skin, or you carry a Palestinian ID card, or you're not Jewish, and even if you're Jewish, if you're, for example, Ethiopian Jewish, then you're not good. They have a system which is like
a caste system.
It's like a caste system, but a very racist caste system. So it's not like they were always nice to us, but they just got far worse and in your face, and they don't care to hide it. Before, they were trying kind of to hide and mask their racism. Now it's like in your face. For the Palestinians, we knew that they're there to kill us, and that is the equation. And it was just how they were doing it. Yeah, it's like the teeth came out, in the sense that we're gonna wipe you out faster now. It's not gonna. We have an excuse to eliminate you, to eradicate you, and it went to that level. Like, it jumped a level. But their agenda was to wipe out any Palestinians since 1948. I don't know which Israeli politician said our biggest mistake was that we kept Arabs in 1948.
Wow.
So it was just that they're doing it slowly and slowly and slowly, and now it was like, okay, khalas, let's get it done with once and for all. And much faster. I also I had complications. I had a car accident also when I was pregnant. And it took me 8 hours to get to the hospital because of the checkpoints. And when I got to the Israeli hospital, on the monitor, it says we will win. And it's like the nurse, yes, and the maternity, the birthing ward, was all Israeli flags everywhere you look. And it's the most hostile environment that you can be with as a Palestinian who has to give birth, and this is what your insurance covers. And I wanted to
and you're feeling scared, Diana.
Yeah, and they wouldn't take I needed to go to the toilet, so they wouldn't take the syringe out, so I had to pull it out so I can go. And they were just answering to the other Jewish Israelis around, and they just pretend we don't exist. I had to sign off on my own. And luckily, we have a few Palestinian hospitals that you can give birth in. So I went to the French hospital in Jerusalem, and yeah, it was, alhamdulillah, it was a beautiful birth, and I was in the hands of loving Palestinians.
عن جد إنه كيف بدها تسترجي تولد الوحدة بهيك بيئة؟
They were mistreating a lot of women. And the problem is, for example, because I had a car accident, the Palestinian hospital doesn't have the ability to accept people who have bone injuries, so they couldn't accept me. They had to refer me to another place so that I can come back. It was just, this is nothing. This is me, a very privileged Palestinian who lives in Jerusalem and in Ramallah and has the right and access to all of this medical. And you're talking about 50,000 women in Gaza who have had to lose their entire womb because they couldn't do C-sections and there was no epidural, and they were it was the only way to stop the bleeding is to take out their wombs.
Yeah.
And it was the last time they give birth, and then their children would die because there isn't electricity and there's no incubators. There's the hell and horror that women have experienced is unbearable. Like, I am very lucky and privileged, but still, it's not okay for anyone to. But the stuff that's happened, still happening. The problem is it's still happening. That's even the worst part. It's still happening.
And how do you manage this anger? And when I saw the movie, I saw you talking about anger and how you like kind of transformed anger into.
Yeah, there's a lot of this and then a lot of that.
How do you feel? Until you were captivated by the Israeli soldiers, and you were
captured. I was captivated by them. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, really? So tell me what the difference.
Captivated it's to be like captivated by something beautiful.
Oh, I see. Sorry, English is my second language. So you were captive.
I was detained by them,
detained by them. Going from this experience and recovering and going through paralysis, I'm not sure like if the paralysis was related to the capturing process.
No.
Okay. And going through this experience, being captured and being tortured physically, and then you're here and going through a long healing journey, and then you come here and then you're witnessing also these violations happening. And I saw like you post a lot about hostages come in. How do you handle that?
It depends. I lived my whole 33 years addicted. So if it comes down to like how do we heal, like how did we manage the anger? We had to suppress the anger, because if I was to express my anger, I would explode into myself. If there was an outlet for all the rage and anger that I had, I would just go. Or I would like go do something and get harmed. So addictions came in. All sorts of ways that we suppress and we depress our emotions, and it comes out in physical ailments in the body, but because we're not allowed to express it.
And this is one of the impact of colonization on people, and that was like also my other question. What's the impact?
It's physical. It's on our bodies, our minds, our souls. Everything in us gets occupied. But that's what I said. The only time I could heal was when the knife was off my neck, because how do you heal when you have like so much rage and anger and you're living in it? And I realized in my paralysis, it was two options. I allowed them to continue to give me the rage and anger and occupy my brain, or at least I liberate my brain for this time so that I can be free of my anger and give forgiveness and reach that state where I can get into self-healing. And then the anger would come back. And it did. Like it was replaced immediately.
It's back and forth. We all struggle with this command.
But one lesson that I've learned and on the healing journey is I express my anger. So even if it means I go to a mountain and I shout my lungs out, I don't let it in. I don't feel bad if I feel angry, and I don't try to push myself to people please my occupier. So that's another problem that we have, is we have to please. We become people pleasers, and that's another problem.
Exactly. And that's the thing also, because like in the colonial mentality is that you're not allowed to be angry. And this is something I experienced here. And I came from Lebanon. I had a lot of anger for all what we've gone through, but it kind of gets silenced as if it's like a big taboo. Like, how dare you raise your voice?
They shrink at you as if like there's something wrong with you. Like you're the problem.
And like, oh, you're such a terrorist to be that angry.
No.
What they did to make us angry.
We don't express it. We don't express it.
So there's this also on a relational level, also this oppression that we need to appear as if like, oh, okay, forgiveness.
No.
Let's forgive the occupier. No, that is something else.
Completely different. And for me, for me, it was forgiveness is an internal process for your freedom. So it's, in a sense, it's liberating oneself from all of the, not the anger, but all of the resentment that sticks in you. And when I forgave the commander who broke my neck, it wasn't about, forgiving Ramkacho from any accountability for what he has done. There is no accountability that's going to come to an Israeli commander. But it was about getting to a place where I forgive what was done to me because I need to heal. And I can't be occupied by this anger. And every time I close my eyes, I would see his face.
Overpowering.
Yes, it was occupying my brain. And I was like, I'm freeing myself from you.
Yeah.
That's how I forget. It's not forgiveness for him. It's forgiveness for me so I can keep going. And I can get rid of the resentment and anger that I have for him so I can focus on my healing and my journey. When it comes to accountability and what we have to do for what they have done to us, that's a whole different story. And who has to pay for what was done to the Palestinians? Yeah.
When you talk about, the healing process and all of that, and I know that you're Sufi, I've been struggling myself with these spiritual spaces that don't mention Palestine, that go to like, oh, let's just be in heaven and nirvana. Why do you think a lot of spiritual spaces kind of dismiss Palestine?
They play into the whole, we are one, but not one with Palestine, in the sense we are one with ourselves. And it's a westernized spirituality, an individualized, westernized
colonial
spirituality. So you sit alone and you pretend that you're away from everything, and you cut yourself off and you live in happy land. If you do the positive, if you work on yourself and you liberate yourself, then you are free and you free mankind with you. No, part of it is true. If you are free, then you can help other people get free. That doesn't mean letting go of what your duty is to care for yourself. But spirituality from the individual one, this notion that you do it and you keep yourself in a bubble. It's spiritual bypassing. You're just avoiding the reality and going into, I am just going to sit and meditate and the world is going to become better. This is not what Buddha did. Buddha sat there to meditate so he can alleviate the suffering of the people. So it's just appropriation of different spiritual beliefs from the natives, appropriating them and individualizing them and westernizing and colonizing them, so that you can be sitting in California and like singing about birds and peace. And when somebody says Palestine, oh no, we can't do that. In order for us to do that, where's the Israeli in this conversation? And you bring the murderer to sit next to the victim and allow for that dynamic to exist and to sing and hug. And it's ignoring everything in order to maintain this happy bubble, which satisfies the needs and the continuation of colonialism. Because if, honestly, happy white people in California come for a minute to sit together and to really spiritually connect and want to forgive and talk about They have to come into their ghosts. They have to see their shadows. What have they done to this land? Where are the natives of this land? Why can't we see them?
Exactly. It's so connected
They need to talk about their genocide before they get to your genocide.
Right. And if that's not happening, it's not going to happen
No,
for Palestine.
if they're going to say what's happening in Palestine is the genocide, then my white privilege here in California is gone.
But you know what? Kaman, they acknowledge sometimes indigenous people, but still they don't acknowledge Palestine. And sometimes it feels like if they made sure they took over, then they acknowledge. But as long as you have...
How do they acknowledge the natives? They do like these beautiful ceremonies, what do they call them? Land acknowledgement. And I'm sitting on the seceded territory. How is this helping the natives?
Exactly.
Oh, finally, somebody's saying, okay, it's nice. Okay, it's nice. At least they know that they're not... It's just to pretend to show that they care. Are they going and working and supporting and helping the indigenous? Are they protesting to get the thousands of occupied brown and black bodies from detentions inside the U.S.? Are they working to close Guantanamo? In your ceremony, before you do an event, we acknowledge this land, and then you do white-centered, individualist spirituality. It's not spirituality. If you come to Islam, you're not okay if your neighbor is not okay. In most of the spiritual beliefs, you're not okay if your neighbor is not okay. So it's a spirituality that's created in the realm of individuality and colonialism to maintain it. They go into sweat lodges and they enjoy the atmosphere and they really feel bad about the natives, but then they don't go and do the work in Standing Rock. They elect Democrats. They don't call for the acknowledgement. There hasn't been an acknowledgement. There hasn't been an apology from the American government and the American people to the indigenous of what they have done to their land.
And no reparation for slavery too.
ما هو بالضبط. كله. It's like, what are they going to sell you? They're going to sell you their colonialist type of spirituality.
فلتتجلى فيك سمائي شمس تضيء نار قلبي فلتتجلى يا إلهي فلتتجلى فيك.
As long as they are the ones that are killing, whichever way they're killing is fine. Whatever you resist, whether it's with a rock, with a stone, with a word, with a poem, they are Palestinian poems who are getting tortured, are poets who are getting tortured. The same, fishy. The reaction, a state that goes after poets, the way that they have done, and the way that لحد هلا مسكينة, what's her name? دارين تاتور. لحد هلا they're following her, chasing her in her house because she wrote a poem called Resist. لا حكت blow ولا حكت kill ولا حكت resist يا عمي. You have the right to resist. It's something that's protected by international law for people under occupation. People under occupation are allowed to resist. This woman was jailed. She's taunted and haunted every day of her life inside the areas of 48. If she wants to even raise her head, بيجوها 20 مستوطن because she said resist.
طب هلا في فلسطينيين عم نشوفهم الفلسطينيات, they have the Israeli passports and they are being like taken.
دارين اللي عم بحكي لك عنها, she's a poet, she's Palestinian from 48.
ايه بس عم بحكي انا على social media status empathizing with the Gazans.
هلا yesterday we just got the sentencing of my friend Murad Mhassan. Murad posted a poem, shared a poem of Murid al-Barghouti. Allah wakilak. He shared two lines from a poem
on social media,
on Facebook, and he hadn't been using social media for the longest time.
شو صار؟
They came while his wife Salam was in the hospital getting her ultrasound while she's 8 months pregnant. He went down with his baby boy, who's 2 years old, the age of a few years younger, a few months younger than my daughter and her best friend. He was downstairs with his father, holding his father's hand, when like soldiers came, cracked him, held him, put him onto the wall, beat him in front of his child, separated him. The soldiers with the guns took the child, put him in the car, put 2 guns around the child in the father's car, and let the man stand, seeing his child weeping. And that, it didn't even stop them. When Salam, the wife, found out that they're arresting her husband, she runs down to take her child and get them out of the car. They put the gun to her head. And then when she starts driving, and she told them, "Khalas, take Murad. You want my husband? Take my husband. Leave my child," so that she can at least support Imad. They maneuver the car, the soldiers, stop her in the middle of the street again, come out of their cars, put the guns in her head again, and threaten her.
While she's pregnant.
8 months, and this is...
And for sharing.
And for sharing one post for Tamim al-Barghouti.
But they're the only democratic state in the Middle East.
He gets taken, imprisoned, and he just got a sentence of 16 months in prison. Wasn't there for the birth of his child. They have an allowance of him getting food, 1,700 calories a day.
Wow.
He's tortured, not allowed to communicate with his family, not allowed to see his newborn child for posting one post. They're not allowed to walk. They're not allowed to have pillows in the detention. يعني Hamas, mashallah, they come out and they're like looking healthy and they're able to smile. Our 10,000 hostages, whichever one is coming out, is unable to walk, unable to eat, unable to recognize themselves.
هلا صاروا 21 حسب ما قريت 21,000 Palestinian hostages.
I haven't gotten the last number, but يعني it's they have we don't even know. The problem is we don't even know numbers, because how are you going to know numbers? On the 7th of October, the workers inside Palestinian workers from Gaza were killed in the streets. We don't know if they are dead or alive. Their families don't know if they were taken or not. While they were in Gaza, we don't know how many people they lynched and how many people they killed and how many people they took into the detention centers, how many are dying inside detention centers. We know
from torture.
From torture. We know some of them. We have some names and numbers of people killed, but we don't know the rest because they're counted as missing. So if you're not lucky and your family survived in Gaza and you're still in a prison, they don't even know if you're dead or alive. And Israel can execute you and bury you in mass graves because they have no problem doing it. They did it. They're doing it.
And the torture before October 7, يعني, there was torture in prisons. But كمان هلا the torture increased. يعني أنت you were captured. You were captured before, and you talked about the shower. The torturing technique.
هذا crème de la crème. This is the trick. If you can get a shower and be burned in the shower, you're a prince of your time. يعني.
The shower is, for people who don't know, is they put people in a very small place and they put super hot water, super cold water, which is something that I used to hear from hostages who would leave Khiam prison in southern Lebanon, because we also had prisons of torture, and people were tortured in all sorts of ways. This kind of torture has been very prevalent since a very long time, but now it has reached its peak with its evil creativity.
The cases that we've been seeing are not something we've seen before. How old am I? I'm 40 years old. I haven't seen anything. We know that they take off your nails inside prison. They clipper them. Sometimes they do the sodomy for the men. They sit them on bottles. This we used to hear. We know it exists.
And all this
sexual
is horrible.
harassment. All of this is horrible. Can you imagine training dogs to rape men and being raped by a dog?
This is unfathomable.
The level of dehumanization and the level of insanity is beyond what we understand and what our brains can understand. You're telling me, like, how are you doing? I don't understand how I'm doing, because I think all of the Palestinians around the world don't understand, because we still don't understand how this is going on, and it's allowed to go on. I used to, as a child, I was obsessed with the Holocaust and how people allowed the Holocaust to happen. And how is it okay for apartheid to happen in South Africa? هلا I'm like يخرب بيتهم. Humans are not really human.
عن
They're
جد؟
not really human. They're seeing the pictures. They know what is going on because there's no... And then they're sitting there and pretending, no, but it's okay, you know, they did this. And they still have the audacity to sit and talk even.
Exactly.
America, we have this Biden saying, yeah, we're trying to stop them. We're not trying to stop them, while giving them bombs that are obliterating more than Hiroshima, more than anything that's happened around the universe in our lifetimes.
بس هيدا الكونفيوجن اللي كل الوقت بيعملوه بالكولونايزيشن انه بيقولوا بس بيكونوا عم يعطي بومز من
بس هذا he's doing it يعني
الناريتيف هيدا اللي بضلهم انه عم بيلخبطوا الناس اللي هن مش فاهمين ونحن اللي فاهمين بتروح علينا.
كل الشباب في السجن كلهم
I want to go back to like non-violence and how it is co-opted by also colonialism. Non-violent resistance and violent resistance. So you were in a non-violent protest and you were captured in this non-violent protest and you were tortured.
يعني they want you to use non-violent according to them so that you can remain occupied. They want you to use these mosques because they know how to curb them and stop them and kill you and destroy you. Gaza, when they did the March of Return and the hundreds were shot, not one... يعني haram, that's not. I'm sure there were people who like stood with the March of Return, but not to the degree of how many people stood up against the people of Gaza when they resisted.
Definitely.
So they want you to walk, march peacefully, and get maimed and get shot and killed in silence and nobody moves. That didn't move an inch. That didn't liberate an inch in Gaza. It's okay. Right, that's what you should do, Palestinians.
Yeah.
طب ما هينا we've been calling boycott, divestment and sanctions and we've been لحد ما راح حلوقنا.
Even that is not allowed.
That is not allowed because it's not about anything that's effective, they don't want you to use. Any modality that will actually change the dynamics. And at the end of the day, they speak the language of violence. They are the perpetrators of violence, and they're the perpetrators of occupation, colonization. They're the creators of it.
And this is the terrorism.
And this is their terrorism. They created it. We never subscribed to it until we were colonized, occupied, and violently, brutally uprooted. Not only the Palestinians, but the rest of the Arab. I'm talking about Iraq. I'm talking about Afghanistan. I'm talking about Yemen.
Lebanon.
Africa, Congo. What?
But they dominate the narrative.
Of course they are going to dominate it. They're the ones who are killing us.
Yeah.
They kill us. And then they tell us, let's teach you something about democracy. And they come and they put a few USAID projects here and there. And the Europeans are not much better. And they start to tell you about democracy, women rights, this and that, and rights. And it's like, you want these rights, but we're not allowed to be free.
So, we're not allowed to be free.
No, because if we are free, where's their money going to come from? The most anti-Semitic people on earth are the Europeans and the Americans. And they don't want the Jews, and they sent them to Palestine.
They killed and sent.
They killed,
ethnically cleansing. It was ethnically cleansing. They sent to Palestine. They killed.
And they call us anti-Semites when we are the original Semites and the brothers and the sisters and the cousins of the Jews who lived next to us
And people here, they don't know that we are Semites, by the way.
If they're going to recognize your Semitism, they're going to have to recognize things that they don't want to recognize about their land. It's not only about us. It's about everything that they have done.
Mm-hmm.
هيهم they recognize Saddam didn't have chemical weapons. طيب they wiped out Iraq.
Why do they look for an excuse? No. They can do anything and they always do anything. Why look for October 7 and weapon of mass destruction and 9/11? They're already unstoppable, يعني.
No, they are very stoppable. They are.
Really? You think so?
Of course, I think so. I think this is the end of the beast. This is the
Inshallah.
death of the beast. This is the beast being cornered and they're out.
Mm.
لأنه the bodies that have been occupied and the bodies that are moving into their countries and the bodies and the millions of refugees that they've kicked out of their countries are waking up. And their people are waking up slowly, but they're still waking up.
Mm.
They're not gonna be able to contain it and continue in this way.
Yeah.
يعني
لا هلا awakening.
there is an awakening, there's an
no way
uplift.
back.
Yeah, there's no way back from what they have done. It's their end. هاي أنا يعني حتمية نهائية يقينية رايحين.
Mm.
لأنه their power and their ability their feeling of unstoppable is what made this.
Mm.
Their feeling, we are above everything, and the level of I don't know the word to say it. شفت الحال يعني. Thinking that they are above the universe and they're
Yeah. That is the thing that is gonna
downfall. That's
Yeah.
their downfall هلا.
a song that represents فلسطين لإلك غنية شعبية.
إيه.
شو
كلها.
أكتر شيء هيك قريبة لقلبك؟ المقاومة، فلسطين، تحرر، أي شيء. إذا فيك تغني صوتك كتير حلو. سمعته. سمعتك تغني إنه الصوفيزم كانت.
هاي أغنية. يما موالي الهوى.
Mm.
بس هي الناس بتفكر إنه هي أغنية للثورة.
Mm.
بس هي الأصل تبعها أغنية حب. فأنا بدي أغاني ما قبل. أنا
يلا.
بضل أدور على أغاني ما قبل ما هن يحتلوا موسيقتنا وأغانينا كمان.
Mm.
يما ويلي الهوى يما ويلي ضرب الخنازير وانا حكم الناذل فيا.
يا ريت صدري جسر وعبرك عنه، يا ريت صدري جسر وعبرك عنه، وعيش أنا وياه عيشة فلسطينية.
ويلي الهوى يما ويلي ضرب الخنازير وانا حكم الناذل فيا.
الله كثير حلو صوتك.
يسلم.
كنت خافانة عم فوت معك إنه عم بنزعها بس إنه هيك. How do you see collective resistance and decolonization looking collectively, ideally? Like, what do you hope for? إنه الناس يعني 9 months into the genocide, protests, calling, city councils, all of this is not working. I mean, I don't know if يعني the word not working was إنه
حبيبتي, they could have wiped all of Gaza.
mm,
I think people underestimate the toxicity and the level of evil. يعني maybe with what we've had and all these protests, we might have saved 1 million. They wanted to wipe Gaza completely. They don't want one Gazawi left.
mm,
So all these protests at least managed to keep some people inside Gaza.
mm.
If there wasn't this much pressure, they would have wiped all of it. That you would have woken up the next day and there was no Gaza, and it would have been very fast and furious. This is what Trump wants. Like, just go in and do it faster, يا عمي. Because he knows, Israel could get to that point where they could,
yeah.
they're gonna wipe it off and clean it off. So don't underestimate what people have done and the power of the people in speaking.
Yeah.
هلا, collectively, what do? Collectively, we keep going,
Mm.
but we also keep going more strategic.
مثل
يعني, the idea that this is global is not a joke.
mm-hmm.
It's not a joke in the sense
Yeah.
that when we are dealing with the U.S. and Israel and Europe, Germany, my God, the يعني, it needs to be a global intifada in the sense of global intifada, but not only for us. With what's happening in Congo, it cannot continue. For people to have iPhones and sit and happily talk on their phones so that Congolese women could get raped is not okay. Liberate Palestine, don't liberate Palestine, it doesn't matter. This is also happening. The starvation of kids in Yemen. Yani, it has to be that we move in a wave, and we understand that we're not moving for one specific entity. Yani, هلا we're moving for Gaza, all of us, but at the same time, we have to move and eradicate evil. We have to get rid of this whole system that's occupying all of us. This major powers that are like choking us down. In the US, yani, I don't want to be honest. I'm like, we want the protest, we want the divestment, we want to make sure that we're moving in the right direction in the sense of boycotting the elections. Don't vote Biden. La, if you're a Democrat and you're like, oh my God, but if we don't, we're gonna get Trump. La, ya ammi, you won't get him if you find independence. You won't get him if you find another way to vote, to do something so that you can change the system completely, because it's not gonna work otherwise. The change has to happen on this land. And at the same time, as Palestinians, as Arabs, and as Muslims who are mobilizing, if we're also not mobilizing with black and brown bodies that are occupied in this country and the indigenous, kaman, we're not gonna move forward. We are also settlers we are settlers on this land.
Definitely.
And when we're moving, we need to move in a wave that is collective. We move with everyone, and we move for everyone. So it's not going to protest so that you can stop the bombing in Gaza and then you go back to sleep. شو استفدنا منك محنا? What are we gonna? If there are still brown and black bodies still going to jail every single day for just being alive and just being able to survive thousands of years of slavery and still being enslaved by this instrument, still being drugged, then there's something wrong.
And they're so connected. يعني حتى النازي فكرة النازي لقتل اليهود, it was also derived from here.
Yeah.
From the system of slavery and genocidal.
Everything started from the wiping out of the natives. Everything started out from that. From here, from here, and from all the indigenous places, from the Spanish. Bible Alb, we love Spain, يعني, because they're like trying to celebrate to recognize Palestine. بس يا عمي, recognize what you have done to Latin America.
وهيدي الريكوجنيشن تبع انه two like a state, بس انه ما two state, انه شو two state one state for you?
فيش, there's no two state. For me personally, it was a childhood dream. At some point, I believed in it, and I was like, okay, they're gonna give 48, like the majority of our land, so that we can get some peace, and this might mean something. And then I realized I'm being played in a game of ethnic cleansing, of convincing me to give the majority of my land as if I have authority to give, yani. But in the sense that
You should.
I believed it. I believed it. I believed this whole dream for a few years until it was like, these people are not honest. And it took me a while, very naive. And that's why I say we Palestinians also have some certain aspects of kindness and indigenous naivety. I'm pretty sure that there were also natives in this land who were like, oh, these people coming with Columbus, that kind of modality. So I was like, two-state solution, maybe they really want to give us peace, and then we can all live together, and we will do the biggest sacrifice. But لا يا عمي, that's not what they want. They want Lebanon, they want Syria, they want Iraq, they want Saudi Arabia.
Even if they don't want anything, would that أصلا يعني be fair to a state solution? What is a free Palestine for you? What is a free Palestine for you?
A free Palestine for me is the end of the Zionist dream. خليهم, let them keep their dream. The Zionist nation, as long as they're not occupying me and they're not brutalizing my people, and they're not brutalizing the rest of the people. Come on, the people, they're putting their money in, the Israelis are putting money in Sudan. They're training American police who come and who are killing the African Americans here. They're also training them how to build the wall. Like, their hands are tarnished with blood and they're everywhere. So for me, free Palestine is كل فلسطين حرة من المية للمية, from the river to the sea, but not from the river to the sea. And we can't come visit you guys in Lebanon.
That's it.
So like, I have a problem with that, because I think that free Palestine, I don't want borders. If we can agree to it as a Lebanese and a Palestinian. You guys open your border to us and we open it to you. I want to live in a place where there's no borders.
يعني نحن عنا borders because of the
of course animosity. And going back to pre-colonization, to open the land with no borders.
The ancestors in my village used to go and work in Palestine and come back in the same day, within a few days.
I have my mother-in-law tells me about, we took the train and we went to Lebanon and we went to Syria, and it was like هدول ما كانوش يحلموا. It was real.
Exactly. هلا بدي أقول شغلة إنه نحن like أنا من لبنان وأنت من Jerusalem.
Yeah.
هيدي ما يعني it never happens.
Never happens.
So give me your hands, Hick. I'm like, are you real? Are you real? It never happens. We are neighbors. We are one people, and we are separated, and then it's lost. You know.
That's the free Palestine.
Yeah.
اللي هي ما بدي. I'm not tied to the border. I'm not tied to the nation. To برضو a nation state. In the sense of, as long as إحنا عايشين, everyone's free to be whoever they want, and I can go and eat. يعني why can't I go and eat shrimps in Beirut? They destroyed us, and they created the borders that we never had.
Right.
So for me, the freedom is going to be from pre-colonization of this land.
شفت ماب قديمة كتير من 1700s هلا بفتش عليها بركي بحطها بمالطا بمتحف محطوط هيك عكا يافا صور صيدا كلهم حد بعض
هيك جاي
يا ريت صدري جسر وعبرك عنه يا ريت صدري جسر وعبرك عنه
آخر شيء في مسج معينة في like بحكي عربي.
Is there any? I kind of noticed. See, like, go on Arabic, حبيبتي. See, this is what we need to do.
Yes. Is there any message you want to tell people? Anything, Hanik?
What do I tell you? The same thing. Don't stop moving until it ends, and it's your responsibility. You're not doing it for Ashira or for Palestine. You're doing it for you, for your conscience, for your freedom and liberation. And if you are a perpetrator as well of violence, and if you are responsible, my message for you is it's still not late. Still have a few years, and you can change things. And it's okay to be wrong and admit that you're wrong and come to the good side, because that's where the happy people live. And that's where the free people live. Even if we're occupied and we're in chains, we're still much happier and much stronger and much more resilient. So be on the right side and do it for yourself first, and then you can do it for us.
Thank you. بكيتيني. شكرا كثير أشيرة
حبيبتي
for coming وتفتحي قلبك وكل شيء.
Thank you for listing me in your beautiful garden. هلا I'm gonna collect
أهلا
the fruits of your garden.
كلماتك
هي بيطلع لي
كلماتك رصاص. You're so fierce, and I really appreciate you. I appreciate you coming. Thank you. أهلا وسهلا.
زدني بفرط الحب فيك تحيرا وارحم حشا بلظى هواك تسعرا وإذا سألتك أن أراك حقيقة فاسمح ولا تجعل جوابي لن ترى إن الغرام هو هو الحياة فمت به صبا، فحقك أن تموت وتعذرا.